Hello everyone, welcome to yet another layout video. So soon after the previous one, well, this is a special one because as you can see it's a Tommy layout. Now, most of these things on this layout aren't mine, but we are taking care of a bed for some neighbors this week and they've let me borrow their Tommy things for that week. So I built this layout and also incorporated some of my engines and pieces and such into it. I made sure to keep my check separate, so all of the regular check is from them, but some of the other pieces, they are from me. And it's not some super complex layout, it's basically a circle plus a figure eight put together or something, I don't know. But it's kind of special because I've built it in a way that basically lets the engines use one of those checks as a loop to turn around no matter which direction they're going from, which is pretty cool. And also, it's fun to play around with some pieces that I don't normally get the opportunity to test. So I'll just quickly go over how it works. So I guess the main line is the one that this fancy bullet chain is on. This is one of Player's classic Japanese bullet chains. And yes, it has two speeds. There's normal speed and there's high speed. Not sure if you could see the difference, but yeah. And for anyone curious, with these bullet chains, the engine at the back is basically just a wagon. It doesn't have a motor or anything, it's just pulled along. But yeah, on this line there is this thing, which I suppose is a station because, well, it's probably not a tunnel, so I'm calling it a station. There's also this stop track. Then the main line reaches this curved hill, and it's stuff like this that makes Tommy, in my opinion, the best Thomas range. Because I mean, how many other Thomas toy lines give you curved hills? They're not essential, but once you have them, you can't not use them because they're just so useful. And yeah, the fact that they did stuff like this shows that Tommy really understood what's important for a chain layout. But anyway, then the hill continues, and this time it curves left until it goes down on a regular Tommy hill. Then it goes over this crossing, and this is another fun item, because as an engine comes over it, it presses this button on the checks, which makes this happen. Yeah, it rings as an engine goes over it, which is cool. And yeah, this crossing looks really nice, and I even like that they bothered to put in these little side details like these crossing signs. And yeah, they're just one of those things that again isn't essential, but it's little details like these that really bring a layout to life. And then the main line just takes this turn on this junction, and that takes you back here. And I said that no matter which direction you're going from, you can use one of the other checks to turn around. Well, if you were to take the left check here, that would take you to Sodor Airport, which is my only destination on this layout, where we of course have Jeremy and his little check, I guess. And then you go around this hill but in the opposite direction. And then if you want to turn around again, you take this check, which takes you over this drawbridge, and then back to the crossing, and then you're back in the original direction, which is pretty cool. And this crossing, well, first of all, it's kind of a drawbridge. Not something you'd see in real life, but it's pretty cool. But what's more interesting is that it's connected to this system of roads, which, believe it or not, is definitely from Tommy. It looks kind of weird because when you think of Tommy roads, you think of this. But no, I think this is definitely from Tommy, because not only does it perfectly fit into this, like there's even a little gap for this thing, but it's even designed to perfectly fit with this Tommy sidewalk. This is my only other contribution when it comes to destinations on this layout, and it's not even really a destination. But Tommy made these sidewalks that you can connect them with each other, basically like checks if you want to. And it turns out that they perfectly fit into this, which is really cool. And I also like how the roads, they aren't all just this kind, but they also have a road with a pedestrian crossing, and then also a road with this, which I think is parking maybe. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but yeah. And also there's Patrick, he can use this too. And what's also cool about this sidewalk is that it can also connect to Tommy destinations like this crossing. So there's also this. This is one of the pieces that came with the lot from the neighbors. But yeah, you can see that it can connect to Tommy destinations like this. And then also on the opposite side, it can turn like this. So yeah, I just have it here because there's a... Oh, sorry. Because there's already this piece of road, so it looks kind of nice. And not only that, but you can also connect it here, because there's this thing, and you can also do the same here and here. There's connections for more sidewalks, so if you wanted, you could make a bigger, like, Tomy city with lots of sidewalks and lots of roads, but unfortunately this is all that I have. And, oh, another interesting thing I should mention about the sidewalks. Those road crossing signs over there, they can also fit into these holes, so that's cool that these things are compatible with each other. So you saw this bullet chain in action, but I feel I should also show the other chain that I temporarily have from the neighbors. It's this special fire liner chain, I guess. It's one of those wagon-powered chains, because the motor is in this thing. And that's because the car at the front has a very special feature. Check what it can do. Yeah, it can turn around like Mighty Mac. And then you can have at the front this cabin, which looks kind of like a strong goods train. Or a goods engine, I suppose. But I prefer this side, which looks more like some turbo-fast passenger train. And what's interesting is that there is even a front coupling at the front. But if you want, you can put it inside so that it doesn't get in the way. That's so interesting. Unfortunately, it doesn't work, so I can't show it in action. But another thing I can show is this fireman figure that came with it. And another cool thing about the Tomy sidewalks, these things are for Tomy figures to stand on so that they don't accidentally fall over. That's just so genius. So, now it's time to do a little running session. First, I'm going to show off the bullet chain taking all of the tracks possible, and then I'm going to show some of the other engines that are in working order. So, sorry Fireliner, but you're not going to be used. So this is the regular speed, but I'm sure that you all want to see it in super fast mode. Oh, whoops. Now let's have it take this line. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.